A massive thank you to Heineck, Das, AF Makers, I'm Bored, and Nandor for subscribing to the channel. If you want to be featured in these clips, make sure you subscribe down below. Hello everyone, and welcome back guys to a brand new video where today we're here back with round 14 of Season 2 of our F1 2021 My Team Career Mode. Yesterday we head back to the Singapore Grand Prix, which of course, if you guys remember last season's race here, famously played host to, arguably I think it was our best result of the year, of course, last season in Singapore. Of course, if you missed out yesterday's video from the Russian Grand Prix, I would definitely recommend going back and checking out dramatic scenes from the Sochi Autodrome as well. I will try not to leave too many spoilers at the start of this video. But championship-wise, Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton still out in front at the moment there. The gap 29 points in the constructors' standings, though, as that gap, just moved up again ever so slightly last weekend, but McLaren are not giving in at this late stage of the year there. Hamilton trying to drag Mercedes to glory once again. There is Yuki Tsunoda finds himself battling it out with the Ferraris as well. But as we head, though, into this weekend, let's just see what we can try and muster up here. We've got more grid penalties, though, so we're going to have to dive into practice, get some R&D points ready just to see if we have got any rule changes later on this year. And then, fingers crossed, obviously, we'll be starting from the back again for the Singapore Grand Prix for the weird bug that happened last time around where some of the replacement parts went on, others didn't. So, once we've got that sorted, we might be just able to get to the end of the year with no more grid pens. Let's dive into practice. Right, so heading into free practice then here for the Singapore Grand Prix. We're not going to make too big a fuss out of this session, I'll be honest. Of course, like we said, no qualifying either here in Singapore this weekend, as we have got at least 25 places worth of grid penalties. Love that on the HUD as well. But yeah, fingers crossed, you know, now you can see we have actually got all those parts on the car as well, so we shouldn't get any more issues.
Okay, super job so far. We're getting great data. Stay focused.
Well, that was incredibly close at the end of our second lap there. I was just about to say, really struggling so far, but I thought we were honestly in the purple. Sorry, in the red even, at the end of that second lap, but it's given us the score. We did end up in the red in the first lap, but that was just a more sort of getting to grips with Singapore once again. Must admit, have found this track a lot more fun to drive on the last couple of games, as I used to absolutely hate this place. Right in the final couple of corners, though, that should be the purple score in the race simulation run. Let's just wait, double check there. There we go.
Great lap. You've nailed what we asked for. Keep it up.
Love to see that. We won't do too much more practice, though, here. We don't want to stress out the engine too much as well this weekend. Yeah, let's dive in then, starting from the back here for the Singapore Grand Prix.
Against the spectacular backdrop of the Singapore skyline, Formula One returns once again to do battle in what tends to become something of an endurance race, with the notorious sauna-like temperatures in the cockpit making for an extremely physically challenging Grand Prix. The Marina Bay Street Circuit then has 23 corners, 13 to the left and 10 to the right, taking us a total of 3.1 miles around the landmarks of downtown Singapore. An average lap speed around here, just 107 miles per hour. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Norris, Yuki Tsunoda, and Stroll, Russell, Perez, Gasly, and Fernando Alonso, Bottas, Schwartzman, and Guan Yu Zhou, and Verstappen. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Ocon, Lundgaard, Antonio Giovinazzi, and Daniel Ricciardo. They've taken a grid penalty. Latifi, Mazepin, Mick Schumacher, and Mr. Monaco. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Right, well, here we are then, on the grid, ready for the Singapore Grand Prix. And luckily today, it doesn't seem that there's going to be too much craziness with the weather. We're going to try and do what we did last year, do a medium to soft Grand Prix here in Singapore. Fingers crossed that can work wonders for us and drag us through to the end of the race in a good position. But starting, obviously, right towards the very back of the field for the second weekend running. We almost scored points last weekend, despite, of course, starting from the back of the field at Russia. So maybe, just maybe today, we can try and have a similar run of form as well. Then we've got the Haskell's just in front of us once again. Of course, no longer our teammate just behind us this weekend. He's right on the cusp of points, and boy, does he desperately need them at this stage of the year. Waiting, though, for the 5 red lights on the Singapore Grand Prix. And it is going to be a very long hold, but he's lights out, and away we go. And again, we've done quite well off the start there as we head down towards turn 1. I wonder if there's like some auto start feature I've accidentally enabled, or we've got like that Renault early 2000s launch control system as well. But through the first couple of corners, straight around both of the Haskell's is Daniel Ricciardo. Obviously, after his unfortunate spin last time round that took him out of the Grand Prix, started down in P18 here in Singapore. They're almost into the back of Giovinazzi on hard tyres at the start of this Grand Prix as we head down through the Raffles Boulevard for the first time. Up the inside of the Italian. No, he's not having any of that. Tries to cut across us there. Not too sure how I feel about that. But we will then send it up the inside through the next corner there. Quite a few grid penalties this weekend as Gio then will back out of that, realising he's not going to be able to defend from us for all too long here at the Singapore Grand Prix. So a good little start. Up 3 spots as well. You love to see it. But of course, Singapore is such a marathon of a Formula 1 race as well. You've really just got to try and settle down into a good rhythm early on here and try to just make little bits of forward progress, but try not to make any mistakes as well. Around the outside of Ricciardo, though, as we head over the bridge. We might be able to make this work. There's going to be a drag race with the McLaren as we head down in towards Sector 3 there. Have we pulled this off? Wasn't really trying to do anything there. Was trying to look for some free space over the Anderson Bridge. Still side by side, though, as we head in towards the next chicane there. And Ricciardo's going to have the inside line. And Ricciardo's having none of it there. Barges us out wide on the exit of the corner. And we will only stay in P19 at the end of lap 1 there. Hamilton clear out front, though, here on the Singapore streets. I'm watching Ricciardo in front of us in that McLaren, absolutely skating around everywhere here. He's clearly pushing hard, trying to make some forward progress early on in this Grand Prix, but if anything, he's making more mistakes. Don't want to see him do the same thing he did last time out of Russia, because if he loops it round, we might have nowhere to hide. Oh, speaking of if people loop it round, we got yellow flags out. Who's got issues? Oh, Verstappen. It's basically come to a halt there. No, it's Guan Yu Zhou, sorry, that was just in front of him. So the AlphaTauri driver out of the Singapore Grand Prix. That was almost a roadblock.
Okay, the incident has been cleared. Let's get back up to racing speed.
Seemed to me like a pretty simple...
This lap, we can use DRS when you are within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
Seemed to me like a pretty standard engine failure there, but not what Guan Yu Zhou wanted here in Singapore. Now getting a run on Daniel Ricciardo as we head up the Raffles Boulevard once more to the outside of the McLaren. But again, I don't think Danny Rick's going to take it lying down. Gives us some room this time around there, and it's going to give us the inside for the next corner. Thank you very much. Over to P17. Really surprised to see Verstappen and Ricciardo both just haven't made any forward progress at the start of this Grand Prix, though. I just don't think the softs are really what you want to be using on full race fuel there, as Lundgaard kicks the back end out through the first couple of turns. Going to bring us a whole lot closer on the exit the first couple of corners there, but a big old slide as we get out of turn 3 there. Almost did what Vettel did back in 2017 off the exit there. Of course, he was leaking fluid all over his rear tyres, but Lundgaard gives us a big old squeeze.
Great pass.
Can we do what we did to Ricciardo, though, just a couple of laps ago? In short, yes. Purple through Sector 1 as well. Next up, though, Latifi. Because, yeah, we really don't want to be stuck battling these guys all day. Oh, first few pitters diving in at the end of lap 5 here. As, yeah, Verstappen is going to be one of them on his soft compounded tyres. How many places are we going to make there? There is Hamilton dropping down the order, as well as one of the Ferraris. Latifi now up into P11 here. So all these guys on the one-stop should be in pretty good positions later on in this race. We're banking on our two-stop strategy still coming in clutch later on, as we should be one of the fastest cars on track. And we get a run on Latifi there. Look at that, the AI is so hesitant to get on the throttle off the exit there onto the Raffles Boulevard. And again, another move made. We'll go just a bit defensive there.
Gap ahead is 2.5 seconds.
Just wanted to make sure Latifi didn't think he could try and send it back on us. But now Ocon is in a 2-1-2 Motorsport sandwich. There we go. Load more cars to the pits as we run a bit wide out the final corner.
Keep it up.
I'm at a 6th place now in the Singapore Grand Prix. Am I really, yeah, not that far behind the leaders. I think it is. Yeah, look at that. I think it's Fernando Alonso, sorry, leads the Grand Prix. I thought for a brief moment it might be Bottas. Perhaps that could have been quite historic for Williams here in Singapore. But yeah, Bottas rocking up in podium contention as well. But we are flying early on here. We seem to really be able to get the tyres in a good window here in Singapore. Managed it last season as well. So we thought about it on Ocon, but yeah, that was never going to work out as we found out last weekend. Alright, is it going to be deja vu again here? This time around to the outside of Esteban Ocon as Verstappen and Hamilton trading fastest laps. Got so much top-end speed still in this thing. Ocon, big lock-up though. Going to pretty much take himself out of contention for P5 there. And now we're just behind our teammate Schwartzman and still feeling, yeah, so confident in the car. These guys are very much just in a big train at the moment, and none of them seem to be able to do anything against each other.
A new strategy is available on the MFD.
Are the team recommending anything sensible? Let's find out. It's not too ridiculous, but no. Right, come on then, Schwartzman. This was the man I was really worried about trying to get around in this Singapore Grand Prix. Again, just not too sure which way our teammate was going to go. Hopefully he's not going to try and fight this too hard. We're on very, very different strategies. Oh, we give him a big old squeeze. But we do make the move work there. Didn't really want to run him so deep into the corner, but he was pretty aggressive with his defending as well. They're now up to P4 of the Singapore Grand Prix. We're on different strategies, so yeah, like I said, I was hoping he wasn't going to fight it too hard. Oh, that was a send. Somehow got it slowed down inside.
Brings you up the place.
Team are a fan of that, but they might have spoke just a bit too soon as we'll cut back on Bottas. Haven't had too many moves down into here yet this race, but that's going to be one of them. Fair play, Pierre Gasly is doing a phenomenal job on this set of hard tyres still in this Grand Prix. To not really be cracking under the pressure to some guys that aren't in much slower machinery behind him.
A second faster than the car ahead. Keep this up.
That says everything we need to know though. We still do need to try and get around Pierre in this Grand Prix. So we head back out onto the Raffles Boulevard again. Oh, Pierre a bit more aware of going defensive, but not defensive enough. Up the inside we'll go. And it's just deja vu in this race so far. But we could be into the lead soon. The only man that separates us from it is Fernando Alonso. Well, Gasly, weirdly enough, into the pit lane first of all, ahead of all the medium runners. So I don't know if they're then trying to extend the medium stint 19 laps to the end of the Grand Prix or what there, but a very old strategy from Pierre. We're now closing up to the back of Fernando, but these tyres are definitely starting to reach the end of their usable life. Are we going to get close enough to the Alpine, though, at the end of the straightaway here? Alonso aware of us. Tries to go a bit defensive, having none of that, though. Going to slam the door shut on the exit of the corner. But we've now got to try and pressure the Alpine into a mistake as we head through the next few turns. Oh, a little bit understeery there. That was okay, though. We got away with that. But yeah, now we've just got to try and sit in the dirty air of the Alpine in front of us there. But Alonso clearly getting a little bit rattled at this stage of the day. Let's just see what we can do. Whoa. Whoa. Completely locked the rears. We've actually got a warning for track limits there. Not too sure how we managed that, but we live to fight another day. Somehow we've binned it at Singapore without actually hitting anything. There we go. At the end of that very same lap there, Alonso into the pit lane onto, I'm presuming, a set of hard compound tyres to the end of the Grand Prix.
You'll be on the softs.
Not quite sure if this is the first time for the team, but 212 Motorsport has got a 1-2 here in Singapore. We have to remember these days, because they will certainly not last long at all. I think Schwartzman's going to dive in at the end of this one, probably, and we're going to be in one lap later. I'll be honest with you guys, I would have rather pit at the end of this lap, but I know full well even if we said we were going to box down Schwartzman, we're probably diving in behind us. Let's be now where Schwartzman still doesn't pit at the end of this lap. Yep, there we go. He is in, as the team aren't saying we need to box just yet. I personally, definitely want to dive it in the end of this one there, as Hamilton now will re-inherit P2.
Robert is coming in for his stop.
Certainly is going to be very, very interesting to see where we emerge in this race.
Still looking good.
Team's still happy with the tyres at the moment. I personally, on the other hand, am absolutely not, as they have certainly seen the end of their usable life here in Singapore. A little bit aggressive on pit entry. Get it slowed down into the pit lane, though. Don't want to get any pit lane speed limits. As, yeah, we head into the pit lane, though. Yeah, very, very intrigued to see where we are going to come out there as the team wanted us in at the end of this lap. We're going to be, I think, about P8 in this Grand Prix. I think we're going to be behind the Alfa Romeo and the Alpine here, and it's a slow stop as well. 3 seconds does not help out at all in this Grand Prix, as Giovinazzi might have held up Alonso just a little bit here. Alonso's going to have a look up the inside of the Alfa Romeo in towards turn 1. And the Alpine pulls off the move as well. So we try not to go over the pit lane exit line. Come out just ahead of Russell and Perez. Now we've got to remember, we will have one of the fastest cars on the track between now and the end of the Grand Prix. But unlike a lot of people, we've still got another pit stop to make here in Singapore. Giovinazzi, though, very, very slow in that Alfa Romeo, as we're just all over the back of him. Heading through Sector 2, you can see him get all over the curbing. Oh, Giovinazzi! The engine's blown up right in front of us here in Singapore there, and that could have been both of us out of the Grand Prix there. He's caused a bit of carnage on the exit of the corner there, but Gio is out here in Singapore, and that genuinely took me by surprise. Funnily enough, I was thinking out just last time out in Russia how we hadn't seen any Ferrari power units go up in smoke in quite a while. I think the last one we'd seen was all the way back in Austria or Paul Ricard, I want to say. There've been a lot of Mercs since then, and of course a couple of Honda power units as well there. But yeah, Ferrari back to their good old selves, it appears.
Good job. That was the fastest lap of the race so far.
New fastest lap of the Grand Prix here in Singapore. We'd love to try and bag that bonus point for the first time in this series, but yeah, now we've got to try and look past Fernando Alonso in this Grand Prix. We tried to get him past him earlier on, thought we were applying some pressure, but instead it was us that made the mistake. Can we get a run this time around though? Look at the extra speed we've got over Fernando Alonso there. Absolutely nothing the Alpine driver can do without DRS. And we're now up into 6th once more. But again, we've got to make an extra pit stop over a lot of these guys. Although Alonso, he's on mediums again. So Alonso's going to have to pit once more in this Grand Prix. Not too sure what Alpine have got planned. Just following Yuki Tsunoda over this last lap, you can tell how just uncomfortable he still is in this Mercedes there. Hamilton, you watch him go around and he just feels at home in that thing. Meanwhile, Yuki Tsunoda seems to be just not quite getting the car where he wants it. And over a race distance, that will really start to cost you a whole lot of time. But I guess that's what makes Hamilton really, a driver that you only ever see once or twice in a lifetime. Here, though, against Yuki Tsunoda. Oh, to the inside of the young Japanese driver there. And we get cleanly ahead of him.
Front is 2.7 seconds.
We'll just about cut in front of him in towards the next corner there. But now back up at a 5th place here. But the real question still remains, where are we going to re-emerge after our last pit stop? It's actually looking alright at the moment. There's a couple of trains being formed and a lot more guys going on 2 stops than I thought would. Oh, top 3 into the pits as well there. So it is going to be Carlos Sainz that leads the way in his Ferrari.
Let's box this lap.
Team want us to pit as early as now, but I think we're going to have to come in end of lap 23 in this Grand Prix if we want to get that last set of soft tyres to the end in one piece. Oh, that's a lot of understeer though. Out of turn 3 there. Lucky it was only the tyre face against the wall. Otherwise that could have been some wing damage. Really hoping Carlos Sainz boxes in now. Oh, look at how much the Ferrari slides around the final corner. Yep, Sainz having no more of that on that rubber. And we'll be in at the end of the lap, so we are going to re-inherit the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix here. But this has been a strategy masterclass up to this point. These soft tyres hanging on really well in there. I'm surprised no one else, if they were all going to 2-stop, didn't think of this. But we've got a couple more laps before we pit. Let's keep our head down and focus. Well, end of lap 23 then, and we have dragged these soft tyres to pretty much, again, the end of their usable life here on F1 2021. We decided we'd do the extra lap in this first stint, despite having a lot more fuel in the car, just so we could really try and push to the end of this Grand Prix on the second. Hopefully try and keep that fastest lap as ours here. Into the pit lane, with less than 9 to go now here from the Singapore streets. Oh, and it slowed down. That was mighty close into the pits. Alonso, though, is going to re-inherit the lead here in Singapore. We're going to come out roughly around our teammate Schwartzman, who is still currently sat in P6 here, as long as we try and stay out ahead of that huge train of cars behind him. So we head back down into the pit lane. Hopefully a nice quick stop. Better than the first, but still not great there. As here we are going to come out just behind Schwartzman. Bottas, though, up in 7th place at the moment here in Singapore. He might be close to getting us as we head out of the pit lane. Back down through turn 1. Again, don't want to get over the white line. Here comes Bottas. Oh, very, very close to myself and the Williams there, as Bottas does make the move work. And is, albeit just for a brief period, going to give himself some breathing room from the cars behind there. Out, though, onto the Raffles Boulevard. Oh, Bottas tries to go a bit defensive, but nothing he can do against us as we head down the back straightaway once again there. Back up into 6th place even, and Schwartzman now up into 5th. This is going to be a brilliant result, but again, our teammate's got to pit once more. What strategy is he going to go with? There we go, Alonso back into the pit lane, just one lap after ourselves. So I think this will answer what the question of what strategy Schwartzman's going on there. Alonso onto a set of soft compound tyres as we now need to try and set a fastest lap of the Grand Prix here. This lap needs to be brave and it needs to be attacking. Really wish we had team orders right now because this is an absolute flyer of a lap so far, and unfortunately we're going to lose a lot of time behind our teammate Robert Schwartzman as we head through Sector 3, a second up on what is already the fastest lap here of the Singapore Grand Prix, but surely now it's just going to all come away from us through the final few corners here. We're all over the back of our teammate, almost pushing him along as we head under the tunnel. What are we going to be able to do though? Oh, Schwartzman sparking away there. Just look at the run we get on him. Up the inside through the next corner we go. It's mighty aggressive. It may be just a little bit too aggressive there, but we desperately want this fastest lap. Is that going to be enough though? So we head through the final corner. Yes, it is.
That was the fastest lap of the race. Keep this up.
35-1 as then Schwartzman does dive into the pit lane.
In for his stop.
Not a fan of having to be that aggressive, but the one bonus point could be hella useful here, as Schwartzman might still stay in the points. And I've only just noticed, with 5.5 laps to go here, we're back up at a P4 of the Singapore Grand Prix there, and Lando Norris only 4 seconds up the road. Is a podium on here? Could we get our second ever F1 podium? Of course, felt like we could have had it a couple of races ago back at Monza, but Lando, yeah, did put pay to that on lap 1 of that Grand Prix. We never got another look in. I'd love to return the favour tonight. Bottas could also be on for Williams' best result in literal years here as well, running up in P5 still here in Singapore.
Car in front is 2.6 seconds.
That's what we like to hear though, the gap to Lando coming down drastically still, but yeah, what a race result this could be for Bottas after a tough old year for Williams. 3.5 laps to go now from Singapore, and we are pushing to the absolute limit to try and get all over the back of Fernando Alonso. We need to go for the move soon though, otherwise I'm worried these tyres will hit the cliff. There is already just a bit of understeer as we head out over the Anderson Bridge in towards Sector 3. We're definitely not close enough this time round, but surely if we stay nearby, we can have a look at the Raffles Boulevard, where we've done so much of our overtaking today that this one would mean so much more than any other in this race. 3 laps to go then, and 2 young Brits in 2 orange cars with 2 very, very different stories in the world of Formula 1, battling it out for the final podium places here in the Singapore Grand Prix. What can we do though as we stay all over the back of Lando Norris out through the first couple of corners? Is he going to get a good run out onto the Raffles Boulevard? This time round there, he's been better than a lot of guys have done so far, but we're still going to have a look to the inside. Oh, Lando, big old squeeze though. Wasn't a fan of that again, so Lando Norris still racing hard. At this stage of the day, we get caught out over the curbs on the exit of the corner. Lando trying to hang on to it. He's going to have the inside though for the next turn again there. This is brilliant racing between the pair of us there, but Lando having none of it this time round. We get a big kick of wheel spin on the exit of the corner there, and nothing happening for us this time round as we head through the what used to be the Singapore sling there. Can we stay close enough? Oh, another big kick of wheel spin. You can see both of us really struggling on our tyres at this stage of the Grand Prix there. Again, a big wash of understeer as we head out. I've pressed the wrong button on my wheel. Oh, what a way to momentarily kill the hype from myself. They used to do that so much during some of our PC mod career modes, but apparently now I'm bringing it to the Xbox Series as well here, as we're still all over the back of Lando Norris through the final couple of corners here. You can see Lando sliding around that McLaren trying to get every inch of grip from it, but 2 laps to go here from Singapore. He's got the ultimate trump card that is track position, but we've overtaken all day long there. Lando goes defensive in towards turn 1 there, overshoots his run through the first couple of corners. Can we use this to try and capitalise on the exit of turn 3? He doesn't get particularly good drives as we head down the hill there. Oh, Lando Norris, what was that? Broke way too early in through turn 4 there. We get the DRS, but we've already pulled off the move. I was not too sure how that one worked, but we'll take it up to the podium places with less than 2 to go.
4.8 seconds.
Definitely not going to have enough time to try and close up to Charles Leclerc here, but podium positions here at the Singapore Grand Prix, you absolutely love to see it. And apparently, as soon as we pulled off that move, the car started to fall apart here. The DRS has now failed with just 1 to go here from Singapore. I don't think I'm going to worry about that too much.
DRS is offline. The rear wing is down, so you can stay out while we work on a fix.
Rather annoying though that this happened twice in the last 3 Grand Prix. Doesn't fill me with too much confidence. Well, on to the final lap then of the Singapore Grand Prix, and after the disappointment that was Monaco early on this year, since then we have arguably been the fastest driver on the street circuits of Baku and Singapore this year. I think, to be honest, we're closer to Lewis Hamilton on the final lap of this Grand Prix than we were on the first. And remember, we started this Grand Prix for last. We took a huge gamble playing this strategy out once again there. It barely worked for us last year, and it looks like today it is coming clutch once more there. Valtteri Bottas trying to hang on ahead of Carlos Sainz here. Either way, it still could be a massive haul of points for Williams in this Grand Prix, but Hamilton, he has looked pretty dominant over the last few Grand Prix this year. It's only a matter of time when, not if, he wraps up his 9th world title here in Formula 1 as well there. Through the final couple of corners though, Hamilton is going to win the Singapore Grand Prix there. Charles Leclerc, a very, very quiet P2 as well, but a brilliant result for Ferrari. But through the final couple of corners from last on the grid, it's going to be a podium here in Singapore. We absolutely love that.
Thank you for all your hard work out there. That was a strong drive and a good finish. Well done.
What a great race it's been then. Another classic Singapore Grand Prix, and they've held on to take the checkered flag here today. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again. So let's review the updated driver's standings. It's a great result for Lewis Hamilton, who moves further ahead at the top of the table. Some amazing talent out on the track today, but Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
I have to give it to Mr. Monaco. That was a commanding performance today. Very impressive indeed.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. Another team that excelled today was Williams, who make further progress up the table. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time? Be sure to join us again as we continue to bring you the latest excitement in Formula 1.
Well, there we are then, guys. The end of the Singapore Grand Prix. And 22nd to 3rd. That's just how we do it here on F1 2021. Our first race as well with the fastest lap bonus point there by, what, 1.2, 1.3 seconds quicker than pretty much anyone else at the end of the Grand Prix. It's absolute scenes. But we're all here for it. We're just a few races to go of Season 2. The Hamilton, though, pole position, race victory, 25 points. Further extends his gap at the top of the standings. Light work for the Mercedes man. Like we said, Charles Leclerc, a pretty quiet but very, very good P2 as well for him there with 18 points on the board. Like we said, though, 22nd to 3rd. Fastest lap as well, 16 points, is going to give us a big helping hand in trying to keep AlphaTauri at bay late on in this championship hunt there. Lando P4 ahead of Carlos Sainz there. Bottas in a P6. That is a mega job for Williams. I think that must be their best result since Baku 2017 as well for the team. And 8 valuable points will put them back ahead of Alfa Romeo in the championship battle there ahead of Tsunoda there. Alonso, Gasly and Russell around out your top 10. Stroll just missed out ahead of Perez. And then our teammate Schwartzman got stuck behind the Mexican and could not make any more progress late on in the Grand Prix there. So disappointing from him. Only Antonio Giovinazzi and Guan Yu Zhou didn't make it to the flag there, but Verstappen and Ricciardo, no progress in that Grand Prix. Got stuck behind Latifi all day long there. Means championship-wise, we re-jump Lance Stroll back into P8 of the championship there. Charles Leclerc gets to jump on Verstappen as well, who has had a torrid run of form since the Dutch Grand Prix as well there. Further down the order though, Bottas gets the jump on Schwartzman, Lundgaard and Esteban Ocon there. Crazy to think the Alpine man has scored just 1 point this year to Fernando Alonso's 38 at this stage of the campaign, and it's just Gio Latifi and the Haas cars left to score at this stage of the campaign there. We're now 29 points ahead of AlphaTauri as well. in the Constructors' battle. Williams, like we said, moved back a bit of P9 ahead of Alfa Romeo, and it looks like it's going to be the second year in a row where it is only Haas that don't score points there. Mercedes 50 clear now of McLaren as well. What looked to be such an ever-closing battle between those two teams just seems to be going Mercedes' way once more late on this year there. Aston Martin further pull away from Red Bull. 3 points between those two teams. Certainly another battle to watch out for late on in this campaign. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, do make sure you leave a like. Get yourself subscribed as well. And yeah, we'll be back very, very soon for round 15 of the year. We head to Suzuka. You guys do not want to miss it. A massive thank you for the continued support from our channel members, featuring The Travesty, Patrick, Chuan, David, Ben, Aiden, Efstathios, Kato and Sean for their continued support on the channel. None of the videos would be possible without their support, and if you want to be featured in these clips, make sure you click the join button below.